Hello, everyone. This is Betterment of Black Woman. I am coming with you with some news today that the Judicial gives Donald Trump permission to deport U.S. citizens. So, what does that mean when Trump was given permission to deport U.S. citizens? So, when you give permission to go against the Constitution and go against the law trying to deport US citizens, they're not deporting just Latinos and Mexicans. They're going to deport anybody that's not white. And I said this before in my last live stream that Trump is going to try his best to deport anybody that is not white. It doesn't matter whether you are a US citizen or not. So right now, the judicial branch just gave Trump permission to deport U.S. citizens, which is against the law and is against people's constitutional rights to live in a country where you were actually born. Your ancestors been here for like thousands of years, but yet he wants to deport you because he wants to make America, quote unquote, YT again. YT. So I hope you guys find this as a wake up call because you could get picked up on the street, just walking on the street in this innocently. And ICE can just grab you off the streets and just deport you and not even think twice. And you was born here and you lived here most of your life. Like, come on now, does that even make sense to do all that just because there are too many people of color living in the he's not let me tell you something, he's not going to get rid of all of us. Let's just keep it real. He can't get rid of all everybody because we're like people of color and black people are the spending power. So when you are the spending power, what's going to happen to this country? Like seriously, what's going to happen to this country? This country is going to go to okay? This country is going to go into wasteland. He just trying his best to get rid of majority of people in this country, which is not going to happen. He can get rid of some of us, but he's not going to be able to get rid of all of us. So I want you to hear what Congresswoman Crockett has to say because this is important. We all should listen to this because this is for real. Like people has been talking about this now for like ever since Trump got into office. So let's go ahead and hear this. Let me see. Hold on, y'all. Hope you guys can hear it. Uh-oh.
That is what they voted for. A bunch of elected U.S. representatives that no. Hey y'all, so I'm jumping on really quickly. First of all, it's too cold in this building. So yes, excuse me. I know I look tacky, but this is my jacket because I'm about to head out for a second to do votes. But I wanted to make sure that I told y'all what just happened. So I've been in oversight forever today, but now we are in our markup. And it is in judiciary. And let me tell y'all what they just voted for. I want y'all to take a guess. Okay. Y'all probably not going to guess it because it don't make sense. But if you think of the most ridiculous thing that they could do. Okay, I know that that's really hard too because everything that they do is quite ridiculous. But literally, they just voted. They being the other ones, not us, because we were all on the right side of history. They just voted to give Trump the ability legally to give him the ability to deport U.S. citizens. That is what they voted for. A bunch of elected U.S. representatives. That is how they voted. Am I telling a lie, Eric, or no?
No, I got my stuff here. Mouthful. No, I'm stunned.
I'm not. But I'm glad that you. Okay. Well, Eric been here longer than me, but like.
So what we said was, we even said, you know what? Many of us will not offer any more amendments tonight. We won't vote for the overall bill. But if you agree to this, we'll drop any other amendments. We'll take the win that this would be in the bill, that you would agree U.S. citizens can't be deported. They voted to allow Donald Trump to deport U.S. citizens. And they did it during the week that we learned that a 4-year-old little girl fighting cancer, a U.S. citizen, has been deported, separated from her U.S. citizen father and her cancer treatment. So, yeah, it's kind of shocking.
Well, he's shocked. Y'all, listen now. I came in with nothing but fools. So he been here longer, so maybe he still has a little bit of shock in his life, but I don't personally. Because the fact is, we used to live in a world in which where we saw the news about that baby that got deported, the baby with cancer, because supposedly he the man that's all about the children with cancer, right? Like, that's why he made sure one of his guests was at the State of the Union was a child with cancer. So surely, even though they're cutting cancer funding, but like, it is a U.S. citizen. Like, there honestly isn't even this real thing of like deporting a U.S. citizen. As far as I'm concerned, you randomly kidnapping folk and you throwing them out of the country against their civil rights, against their constitutional rights. And frankly, how would they feel if some other country decided that they were going to just start throwing people randomly in our country? Like, that is absolutely insane. So yes, all I gotta say is y'all need to get these fools out of here. But Deborah is so much nicer about how she says things. She wasn't them real. She's one of them real good, nice lawyers. Okay, listen, I can only imagine how Deborah was in the courtroom, honey. But Deborah also sits on judiciary. So tell us, I mean, what are your thoughts? How do you explain that this is what they decided to do?
They're mean. They're heartless. And they're cruel. And they do not care about anybody except themselves. But if you're going to be able to deport U.S. citizens, then they're coming for you.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
So again, like, all those people that are saying that they have some sort of buyer's remorse about their votes because they never thought that this was going to impact them and that kind of stuff or whatever. Here's the reality. When we go out and make votes, instead of going out and deciding that you're going to vote for the person that is going to be quote unquote perfect, what you need to be doing is looking for somebody that at least has some common decency. Because ultimately, when it comes down to it, I can tell you, if it was somebody else that was in office other than him as the president of the United States, maybe we would have had a different result. But they are so afraid. They are afraid to do what is right. Again, I keep trying to tell people, this isn't about partisanship. This is about right versus wrong. Now, listen, y'all know this fighter. She stays on the front lines, at all times. But no, tell us, because actually this was your amendment.
It was.
So this is the author of the amendment. And we all thought it was common sense, but as we are learning, common sense ain't so common.
Yeah. No, look, here's the thing. This amendment was not introduced because it's theoretical. It is actually happening that U.S. citizens are being deported, not just one, not just two, multiple U.S. citizens are being detained and deported by ICE. Yeah. Now, here's the thing. I introduced into the record the document, the policy document, the law that ICE cannot detain and deport U.S. citizens. Yeah. That's actually the law. Yeah. So it's illegal what they're doing. Yeah. And Ted Lieu, our colleague, said, it's batshit crazy that you got to introduce this amendment. He said that on the record. And I said, you know what? It is batshit crazy. But the reason I have to do this
is because they don't follow the law.
Because they're not following the law. And then I asked the Republicans on the other side, you were elected by U.S. citizens, by constituents. And you are now saying, if you vote no on this amendment, you are saying that you're not going to stand up for the constituents, the U.S. citizens
that you work for,
that send you here.
Right.
And it was just stunning.
The ones that pay your check.
Now, I did notice that some of them
I don't work for
just
US
didn't
I'm just
come
studying the magic.
to the vote because they didn't want to be
Oh yeah,
on the record. They didn't want to vote.
Some of them skipped out on the vote,
They
y'all.
skipped out on the vote. So you should check the record. And if you have a Republican that represents you wherever you are, you should call them up and say, do you support Trump's ability to use ICE illegally to detain and deport U.S. citizens? Because if you don't, you should be speaking out right now. And if you do, we are in a whole hell of a lot of trouble.
Yeah, and honestly, I'm a
Okay, that's enough of that. So basically, that was Congresswoman, Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, speaking out on her visit to the judiciary hearing. And I'm gonna be real with you guys. This is what you voted for. This is what you voted for. This is what's going to happen to U.S. citizens now, because they're not just targeting immigrants, they're targeting U.S. citizens. And they're not targeting any U.S. citizens. They're attacking people of color and Black folks. And we have to wake up and realize is that this is illegal. Trump is trying to overturn the Civil Rights Amendment, and he tried to overturn everything that happened since the end of the Civil War. He's trying to overturn everything with these executive orders, and these judges need to overturn these executive orders, and they need to overturn this ruling because they're putting a lot of U.S. citizens in danger of deportation to a country they never been in. And that's scary. And to be detained to a country called El Salvador, which is a country that is in Latin America. We don't have no relatives there. We don't even know nobody there. But from what I heard, when you end up in that jail cell or you end up in another country, you cannot come back to the U.S. From what I heard, once you get deported, you cannot come back to the U.S. And deporting U.S. citizens is illegal. So Trump is doing everything that he can to deport anybody that does not fit his agenda. And I also heard in one of his speeches that he wants to he wants to open up Alcatraz in San Francisco. And I'm like, I just sitting up here laughing, like, what is this man trying to do? Like, what is he trying to accomplish by putting people in prisons just because he does not like them for absolutely no reason? He doesn't know these people, and you want to throw all these people in jail, like, including U.S. citizens. Like, I already told you guys there was no escaping this. It doesn't matter if you are Haitian or if you're African American. If you're not a white person in this country, you're going to get deported. It does not matter if you have a birth certificate or a social security, you're getting deported. Let's just hope that somebody comes to their senses and overturn this ruling, because that's illegal. That is illegal. To get more into this for detail before I go, because this needs to be more explained, because what these people are doing is illegal. This is illegal. So I want my people, Black people in America, that their ancestors were here thousands of years. We need to find a way to combat this, to fight against Trump. We don't have to go out and protest. That's not the answer. Oh, and speaking of protesting, a lot of people were detained. U.S. citizens were detained back when there was a protest over the weekend. And what's going to happen to them? I do not know, because what Donald Trump wants to do is to deport U.S. citizens now. And that means anybody that goes out and protest. So, y'all, this is getting scarier by the minute. Let me see. Okay, let me write this. Trump to deport U.S. citizens, which is illegal. And somebody needs to, because everybody from the East to the West Coast has sued Donald Trump and won. Everybody that sued him has won, because what Donald Trump is doing is illegal. And get this, the Trump administration wants to pay immigrants in the U.S. to deport themselves, at least $100K to deport themselves. Isn't that a joke? Let me see. So it says here, Trump hopes to deport and jail U.S. citizens abroad. What? Okay. President Trump said his administration is actively exploring a proposal to detain U.S. citizens and send them to prison in El Salvador. Speaking Monday, minutes before a press briefing alongside El Salvador President Nayib Bukele, I can't say his name or pronounce his name, Trump could be heard embracing the concept. The homegrowns are next. The homegrowns. You've got to build about 5 more places, Trump said to the president of El Salvador. And apparent reference to prison space that could be needed in El Salvador to house U.S. citizens. El Salvador is already hold hundreds of people in a maximum security prison. They were flown from the U.S. in recent weeks after being detained for allegedly lacking legal status or having gang affiliation. Critics say many of those individuals were deported with limited or no due process. Some are defiance of the court orders by U.S. judges. Responding to Trump on Monday, the president of El Salvador suggested his country is prepared to incarcerate U.S. citizens. Yeah, we got space, El Salvador president said. The proposal has drawn commendation from several legal scholars who said it will represent an unperceived enrichment to civil liberties of U.S. citizens. It's obviously unconstitutional and obviously illegal. There is no authority in any U.S. law to deport U.S. citizens, and certainly not to imprison them in a foreign country, says David Beer of the Cato Institution, a libertarian think tank based in Washington, D.C. The problem, of course, is Trump already has illegally deported hundreds of people by just not giving the courts the opportunity to stop him. Beers added, I think That's the real fear now that he's going to try to evade judicial review of deporting of U.S. citizens. Not everyone is voicing opinion to Trump's concept of detaining U.S. citizens and sending them overseas. The NPR contract three prominent conservative legal scholars. All declined to comment. We all contract three conservative legal think tanks. One declined to comment. Two others didn't respond. The NPR could also find no instance of Republican lawmakers in the House or the Senate commenting on the ideas. This isn't the first time this idea has come up since Trump took office. Posting on the social media platform X in February, El Salvador president said his country has offered the United States of America the opportunity to outsource parts of its prison system. We are willing to take any convicted criminals, including convicted U.S. citizens, into our mega prisons in exchange for a fee, the El Salvadorian president added. Posting photographs, densely packed inmates crouched with hands on their heads. His post on amplified that same day by Trump ally Elon Musk, who described the proposal as a great idea. Speaking about the concept, February, Trump said, "I'd do it in a heartbeat." Asked again about the idea during Monday's news conference, Trump confirmed he has ordered U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi to explore whether it might be a legal or cost-effective way to house American prisoners. Trump suggested his administration might send U.S. citizens to be incarcerated in other countries. Good luck with that. But we have others who negotiating with too. He said, if it's a homegrown criminal, I have no problem. Now we're studying the law right now. Pam is studying. If we can do it, it's good. Look, he's not just talking about prison inmates here. He's talking about actual innocent U.S. citizens that could be deported and detained for no apparent reason whatsoever other than just being brown and black. Basically, he has no other reasons other than the color of your skin. Because why would ICE go out and target innocent U.S. citizens if they committed no crime? This is not about committing crime. This is about, like I said before, you being a person of color is a threat in this country. I hate to say that, but it's pretty true to Donald Trump. These are Americans who President Trump, is saying to have committed the most heinous crimes in our country. And crime is going to decrease dramatically. No, it ain't. No, it ain't. But numerous legal scholars contracted by NPR described the policy idea as cross a bright line in the U.S. government treatment of American citizens. One hopes that the administration won't go down this path, said Lauren Brooks Eisen, Senior Director of Justice Programs. The Boren Center, a progressive think tank in New York City, there's a profound ethical progress at a New York university. There are profound ethics questions that moves the signal about how we treat human beings who are U.S. citizens. Courts will also certainly prevent this from happening. Okay, I'm not going to read the rest because it's pretty long. If you want to look it up, you can look it up yourself. But I find it's highly illegal that Trump is doing this to U.S. citizens just because he don't like other people that don't look white in this country. Like, mm-mm. So this is what people voted for. I mean, especially people of color. This is what you guys voted for. So if this is what you want, if voting for Donald Trump is what you want, then this is what you get. I'm sorry, but to the MAGA people that voted for him, I would say good luck to you. I hope that you guys got everything that you wanted. You know, this is what you guys, you guys voted him in, so we have him for the next 4 years. Let's just hope that he gets impeached, because I heard also that there is impeachment in the works. So hopefully that he gets impeached and that he can finally get out of office and we can finally vote on who we want. And hopefully somebody that will follow the laws of the Constitution and won't impose on citizen rights. But that's all I have for this video. Like, comment, share, subscribe. Please hit the notification bell so you guys know when I go live. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye.